Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. A management shake-up at Hindustan Unilever. Ritesh Tiwari is set to step down as CFO and move to a global role. This comes a day after Rohit Java stepped down as CEO, with Priya Nair set to take the reins. The HUL stock up more than 4% today. Sensex and the Nifty decline for a second week in a row, losing 1% each. IT stocks lead the decline. Mid-caps fall in tandem with blue chips. India Inc. braces for a difficult first quarter as TCS starts the earnings season on a tepid note. Autos, banks, consumer staples likely to see weak growth, but healthcare services, construction material, renewables and telecom likely to report strong growth. The first check from the new 1 lakh crore rupee R&D fund will be issued in the next 2 to 3 months as the government's principal scientific advisor Ajay Sood calls on the private sector to get moving on increasing R&D budgets, says the government is open to picking up a stake in deep tech startups. That's an exclusive. The suspense over Tesla's India entry set to end next week. The Mumbai showroom will open on the 15th of July. Timelines on bookings and sales to be announced shortly. President Trump threatens 35% tariffs on Canada from the 1st of August. Also says he plans to impose 15 to 20% tariffs on remaining countries who are yet to receive any letters. 23 nations have received tariff letters so far. UK and Vietnam have signed a trade deal framework. Promoters of VIP Industries in advanced talks to sell a stake in the company. Sources say private equity players, including multiples PE, are in the race and a deal is imminent. Insurance regulator initiates the process of issuing show-cause notice to 8 health insurers over alleged lapses in claim settlements and rejections. Sources say insurers are likely to be asked to pay a penalty or return money to policyholders with interest. Israel intensifies bombings in Gaza amid widespread reports of hunger and starvation. At least 15 people, including 10 children, killed in an Israeli strike as they queued outside a medical point for treatment. More than 57,700 people have been killed in Gaza since the war began 21 months ago. Multiple roads in Gurugram remain waterlogged as a sudden downpour 2 days ago exposes creaking infrastructure. Traffic still paralysed at the Jaipur Expressway, Golf Course Road and Sona Road. Let's start with the day's market action. The Sensex and the Nifty failing to hold on to the key support levels today. The Nifty, in fact, ending below the 25,200 mark. The Nifty Bank fell about 200 points while mid-caps dropped more than 500 points today. That's the story for you. The mid-caps losing about 500, 690 gone on the Sensex and a 200-point cut there on the Nifty 50. In fact, the Sensex and the Nifty have slipped for the second straight week, with both the indices ending the week 1% lower each. FMCG, by the way, has been the big move up. That's been the top gaining index, while IT and capital markets have lost ground. So 4% cut there on the IT index, but FMCG up by about 2%. Now, India Inc. is bracing for a difficult first quarter. This after TCS kicked off the earnings season on a tepid note. Nimesh is here with what we can expect for earnings across different sectors. What's the expectation, Nimesh?
Broadly, the sense is that this will be a weak quarter, but it will set a tone for a very strong September quarter. So don't look too much into this quarter, but it will be a base for the next quarter. That's a broad consensus view. In fact, most of them are forecasting the Nifty 50 earnings to be 7 to 10%. This is going to be quite heartening because in the last 4 quarters, we've been reporting single-digit growth on the Nifty. So in that sense, it's going to be slightly better off. The low base of last year, as well as the early festive season, is going to set the tone for at least the domestic companies in this quarter as well as in the next quarter. And what RBI has done with front loading of the RBI cut, there's going to be a potential impact on a lot of the financial names as well. So that's going to be a trigger to watch out for in the very near term and for this quarter as well. So that's overall picture. I'll go with sectors which are going to do well to start with. These are the 4-5 sectors which are expected to do well in Q1. Construction materials, which is basically the cement companies, they're expected to do well. Healthcare services, renewable energy and telecom services. These are the 4 sectors which are expected to relatively do better earnings in Q1. Now look at some sectors which are going to report only single-digit earnings growth in Q1. And that includes consumer durables and apparels, electric utilities, IT services, as well as gas utilities and transport sectors. So these are the 4-5 sectors which are expected to report only single-digit earnings growth in Q1. So that's the second set. The third set is where the street is anticipating a very weak earnings, and that includes automobiles, especially Tata Motors, is going to drag the auto numbers down this quarter. Banks are going to report weak. Consumer staples are going to report weak numbers. So is gas utilities and transportation. So these are the 5 sectors which are expected to report weak earnings in Q1.
Well, moving to the crypto markets, where the Bitcoin has touched a new all-time high. This on the back of strong institutional demand and inflows into crypto ETFs. The surge triggered the liquidation of over $1 billion of short contracts. Meanwhile, the price of silver hit an all-time high as US President Trump's tariff threats drove safe haven demand. President Trump's threat to impose tariffs of 50% on copper imports have driven the metal prices to record highs. Well, a top brass reshuffle at Hindustan Unilever. Sources say that Ritesh Tiwari is set to step down as the company's chief financial officer and could move possibly to a global role. Now, this comes a day after Rohit Java stepped down as the company's CEO, with Priya Nair set to take the reins. HUL stock gained more than 4% in trade today. Shilpa joins us now with more. Shilpa, take us through the likely management reshuffle in HUL after Java's exit.
Well, the management rejig at HUL seems to be continuing. What we're picking up from our sources is that Ritesh Tiwari, who's currently the chief financial officer of Hindustan Unilever, is also likely to step down from his role, but he's most likely to take on a global role at Unilever. Now, this comes close on the heels of Rohit Java also stepping down as the MD and CEO of HUL, with Priya Nair now taking on that role. Now, Ritesh Tiwari is currently the Executive Director, Finance and IT and CFO at HUL, and he's been the CFO since May 2021, and he's been with Unilever as a management trainee right from 1999, and he has held roles across core finance, demand planning, procurement within India and in South Asia as well. Now, we reached out to HUL regarding our query, and HUL has told us that, he continues to be in this current position of his, and they have said, and I quote, "At HUL, we consistently nurture talent and groom leaders as part of our ongoing talent development process. If there are any developments in this regard, necessary disclosures will be made." So they haven't exactly denied the story either. And remember, this management rejig comes at a time where both the industry in India and the company in particular has been grappling with low consumer demand, high inflation, rising competition, and also volume growth also has been in low single digits. And it's not, only HUL either. Unilever globally also has seen a management rejig. If you remember, earlier this year, Heinz Schumacher also stepped down as the MD CEO in less than 2 years of being appointed, and that also came as part of the company's turnaround plan globally as well. Now, we're also given to understand there are about 3 to 4 contenders to take up the CFO position in the place of Ritesh Tiwari. We'll keep you posted as we report on further developments in this case. Back to you.
All right, Shilpa, many thanks. That was a stock that was up, but a stock that was down was TCS. The stock fell after the company's first quarter revenue declined 3.3% on a constant currency basis sequentially in Q1. TCS's MD and CEO, K. Krithivasan, says that a strong order book makes him optimistic about the medium to long-term outlook. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, he said, surpassing the company's growth rate in the last fiscal will be difficult. The growth of its international business will be higher than FY25. Take a look.
We are not going to comment on Q2, but see the overall situation. We have a good pipeline, good order book. We are winning reasonably well in the marketplace. Growth better than FY25. We'll work towards it, because we had about 4.2% growth in FY25. To reach that, that's looking like a tough number now. But definitely growth, definitely international growth to be better than FY25.
Well, that's TCS, and here's more in Earnings Corner. Avenue Supermarts, which operates D-Mart, saw a flat profit in the first quarter of this fiscal. Revenue up 16%, coming in at over 16,359 crores. Margins did decline, though, on a sequential basis. Glenmark Pharma shares hitting a fresh 52-week high. This after the company signed a landmark licensing pact with US pharma company AbbVie to develop and sell an oncology drug to treat multiple myeloma. Glenmark will retain the rights for India and the emerging markets. AbbVie will pay $700 million upfront for exclusive rights to North America, Europe, Japan and Greater China. Speaking to CNBC-TV18's Ekta Batra, Glenn Saldana said the molecule is currently in phase 1 and could be commercialized in the next 4 to 5 years.
Once it's commercial, we get royalties on sales, which as you know, some of these innovative products, the life of the royalties is pretty long. So this could pretty much be an annuity if the molecule makes it to market.
When do you think that it will probably hit the market or show any kind of results?
So AbbVie takes over all clinical development from here on. In terms of time frame, I mean, I can't give you a specific time frame, but typically molecules, if you look at other assets, right, in the space, they typically take about 4-5 years at least to get to commercialization.
Well, that's Glenn Saldana, and that stock was on fire today. Promoters of VIP Industries are said to be in advanced talks to offload stake in the company. Sources say that private equity players, including multiples PE, are in the race and a deal is imminent. Mangalam is standing by with the details. Mangalam, a deal likely to be inked soon concerning VIP Industries?
Well, the promoter's intent has been clear for the last couple of years. They've been alluding to looking to sell stake in the company owing to lack of succession in the company, and as a result of which they were looking at multiple partners. There have been multiple times in the past reports that some of the others are looking to buy stake in the company, but now we understand that a deal is imminent and it's very close. The promoters are in advanced talks to sell a stake in the company, and among many of the private equity players, multiples is the one which is likely to go ahead and be in the race for VIP Industries itself. Remember, the promoters own over 51% stake, and any such deal that happens triggers a mandatory open offer for minority shareholders. So that is something that may happen as well. But the promoters in the past, like I said, have alluded to looking to sell stake in the company. And if you look at VIP, the stock, that there is a deal brewing, the stock was sniffing that, because in the last 3 months or so, it's up 75% from its 52-week lows. And more importantly, despite that rally, it's still about 36% away from its previous all-time high, which was last hit only about 3.5-4 years ago. If you look at VIP's performance in the market as well, over the last 5 years, the stock has rallied just about 80%, as against Safari, which has rallied over 1,000%. So not only are they losing market share in the stock markets, but even in the overall market. So whenever the deal happens, or whoever the company goes to, the important part will be the revival of brand VIP, along with growth in Skybags and their premium product Carlton. The second thing you'll be looking at, winning in channels. CSD was taken over by Safari, general trade and e-commerce channels. And finally, the upper end has been fairly disrupted by entrants like Mokobara, Uppercase and other newer players. So to that extent, competing against these players with this brand will also be very crucial to track.
Well, Mangalam, many thanks for joining us. Could that be a deal that is likely to be closed soon? That's the indication we get. Now, the first check from the new 1 lakh crore rupee R&D fund will be issued in the next 2 to 3 months. This, as per the government's principal scientific advisor, Ajay Sood. Speaking to me, Sood added that the government is also open to picking up a stake in startups. He's called on the private sector to get moving on increasing R&D budgets. India's R&D expenditure is lagging behind several nations. It stands at just 0.65% of the total GDP. China spends 2.4%. US spends 3.5% of its GDP on R&D. Now, the contribution of the private sector to R&D spending in India remains very low. Private sector accounts for just over 36% of the total R&D expenditure in India, compared to 75% in the US, 77% in China. Here's the principal scientific advisor on operationalizing the government's 1 lakh crore rupee R&D fund.
Have to be tech ready to do all this. And in all this, the private sector investment and the private sector working with academia is absolutely must. Funds are also there for deep tech funds of funds, which will be differently dealt with as compared to corporates, because we also need substantial support for that, and that is also covered in this, and that could be a mixed of equity and loan.
So the government will actually pick up equity in some of these deep tech companies as well?
Only in that startups.
In the startups. Okay.
Not in the others. Not in the others.
Right. Well, that is a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. And here's another. We told you first, and it is now official. Heavy Industries Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy says the centre will soon launch a scheme to offer subsidies to manufacturers of rare earth magnets. The scheme will have an outlay of over 1,300 crore rupees. The minister also announced a policy which would incentivize the sale of electric trucks in India. Approximately 100 crore rupees has been earmarked for the e-truck scheme.
Some progress is going on. We already allocated 1,345 crores. 1,345 crores. We are selecting 2 manufacturers.
The insurance regulator has initiated the process of issuing show cause notices to 8 health insurers over alleged lapses in claim settlements and rejections. We learned that insurers are likely to be asked to pay a penalty or return money to policyholders with interest. The IRDA has found lapses in the health portfolio, including unnecessary deductions, claim rejections and delays in claim settlements as well. Now, companies have urged the government to ease restrictions in the CGST Act, which blocks input tax credit on key business expenses. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 these include costs such as hiring or renting vehicles, employee meals and medical or insurance expenses for staff. Industry has urged that the block ITC makes up a significant part of operational costs, which are essential. American EV giant Tesla all set to make its entry into India next week. Sources have said the Mumbai showroom will open on the 15th of July. Timelines on bookings and sales will be announced shortly. Parikshit Luthra, who broke that story, is standing by with the details. Parikshit, the India-US FTA, the suspense continues, but the suspense finally over as far as Tesla's entry into India is concerned.
Suspense over Tesla's India entry is finally over. The company will be inaugurating its first experience center in India on the 15th of July. The Tesla showroom will be in Maker Maxcity Mall in BKC, Mumbai. The showroom is spread over 4,000 square feet of space and will showcase Tesla cars, and there will also be Tesla chargers in the building. While this is the first launch, we have been hearing that Tesla could launch a second showroom in Worldmark Mall in Aerocity in Delhi sometime in future. So what's going to happen on 15th of July in Mumbai? Well, for all of you who have been wanting to get your hands on a Tesla for years, the wait is over. Tesla officials will announce the timelines for bookings and sales in India. Which Tesla cars would you be able to buy? In all likelihood, it will be the Model 3 and Model Y, which are Tesla's entry-level models. But we have been told by sources that the cars will be fully loaded with all the features that are offered in US and other markets. The company will also announce charging options for prospective buyers. Are these cars manufactured in India? No. Tesla will be importing right-hand versions of these cars from either their plant in Berlin or the plant in Shanghai, which means the cost for you also goes up. But if a Tesla Model 3 is $34,990 and Model Y costs around $37,490 in the United States, then they will be imported into India with a 70% import duty. This means these cars could cost you anywhere between 50 to 60 lakhs in India. Tesla is likely to offer both standard and long-range versions of these cars.
Well, you heard it first, and we will bring you all the latest on Tesla's India entry. Parikshit, many thanks. Staying with auto, Ford has recalled around 850,000 cars across the US because of defects in its low-pressure fuel pump. The auto major said that this fuel pumps could fail unexpectedly, which could cause the vehicle to stall while in operation. The recall covers models produced between 2021 and 2023 and includes truck models as well. Now, it has been almost a month since the London-bound Air India flight crashed in Ahmedabad. Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu told CNBC-TV18 the preliminary report on the crash by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau will be submitted soon. He will speak to reporters at an event in Mumbai today. Take a look.
When can we expect the preliminary reports, sir?
Very soon, very soon.
So it was expected today?
No, very soon. They are working on it. AIB is working on it, so whenever they are ready. Very soon.
So any timeline that you could give us?
No, it is the responsibility of the AIB. Let them do their job and do it.
Since AIB is an independent body, will the Ministry of Civil Aviation have any oversight in ensuring that all transparency is maintained and what
No, that is the responsibility of the AIB, and the ministry also is ensuring that the transparency and accountability, everything is there. These are all, AIB is following the international protocol also. So everything is being done according to the procedure.
So it was expected the report will be out today.
I'm saying it's expected soon.
Well, that's the aviation minister. Up next, multiple roads in Gurugram remain waterlogged as a sudden downpour 2 days ago exposes creaking infrastructure yet again. A special report coming up. You can catch all of CNBC-TV18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. US President Trump has threatened to impose 35% tariffs on Canadian imports from the 1st of August. In a letter addressed to Prime Minister Mark Carney on Truth Social, Trump has said the 35% rate is separate from the sectoral tariffs imposed on Canada. He also warned that the rates could go up if Canada retaliated. Carney responded to the letter. He said that Canada has made vital progress to stop the scourge of fentanyl in North America. In a phone conversation with NBC News' Meet the Press moderator Kristen Walker, President Trump said he plans to impose blanket tariffs of 15 or 20% on countries which do not receive individual tariff letters, but he did not provide any further details. Now, 23 countries, including Brazil, Canada, Japan, South Korea, have received letters so far. Here's that story.
President Trump said in a new interview with NBC News that he plans to impose blanket tariffs of 15 to 20% on most trading partners, saying the amounts were being worked out for all the remaining countries, those that haven't been receiving letters or the few with announced frameworks. That baseline number is up from across-the-board tariffs set at 10% right now. And the president dismissed concerns that further tariffs could hurt the stock market or drive inflation, saying, quote, "I think the tariffs have been very well received. The stock market hit a new high today," and that was yesterday. The S&P did close at a record high. But that comes, of course, after a tumultuous few months for the markets. And drilling down even more, President Trump announced a 35% tariff on all imports coming from Canada, specifically beginning next month, reviving tensions, of course, with that major trading partner that had largely gone away in recent weeks. And we did hear from Canadian officials that they have been working hard and in constant contact with the U.S. throughout this week, hoping to come to an agreement.
Alice Barr reporting there. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Malaysia. This is their first in-person meeting at a time of simmering trade tensions. The meeting was held less than 24 hours after Rubio met Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Israel has intensified bombings in Gaza amidst widespread reports of hunger and starvation. At least 15 people, including 10 children, killed in an Israeli strike as they queued outside a medical point for treatment. More than 57,700 people have been killed in Gaza since the war began 21 months ago. Tensions rising in Ukraine after a deadly wave of Russian drone and missile strikes hit Kyiv, killing at least 2 people. The overnight attack damaged multiple districts, shattering windows and forcing residents to take shelter in basements. This comes amidst U.S. President Donald Trump's pledge to send more weapons to Ukraine. Trump has promised to make a big statement on Russia this coming Monday. Elon Musk's social media platform X is cutting costs for its subscription in India by more than 30%. The cost of the basic plan, which costs 244 rupees per month, earlier will now cost 170 rupees. The cost of the premium plan has been cut from 650 rupees earlier to 427 rupees. The cost of the premium plus plan has been cut from 3,470 rupees to just over 2,500 rupees. An update from the Karnataka High Court, where Elon Musk's X is taking on the Indian government over its orders to take down content. The company said that thousands of government officers are issuing takedown orders on videos that could cause public criticism of their departments. The company also opposed the government's Sahyog portal for facilitating these orders, adding that the portal has no backing in law. The court will continue to hear the case. Several roads in Gurugram remain waterlogged 2 days after heavy rains brought the city to its knees. Home to some of India's richest, this monsoon season once again raises questions over the quality of Gurugram's infrastructure. Abhimanyu Sharma reports the traffic situation remains dire on the Jaipur Expressway, the Golf Course Road and Sona Road, key thoroughfares in the city.
We are currently in Sector 65 of Gurugram, an area which boasts of real estate prices that rival even places like Hong Kong or the Manhattan. Behind me is not a rivulet or a lake, neither is it a special lane created for boats. But this is a brutal reality, a brutal reminder for all residents of the Millennium City for 3 to 4 months every year. And this is what just over 100 millimeters of torrential rainfall within a span of a few hours brought down the city too. It has been 2 days since that torrential downpour. It was relatively a drier day yesterday. However, the situation is still quite worse and is still worsening in several areas of the Millennium City. Residents and travelers across the roads, across all arterial routes, and even the national highway which bisects the city are still facing problems with respect to transportation. It remains to be seen how early this torrential downpour is going to end, and also more importantly how early the drains are going to be cleaned and the roads are going to become motorable again.
City which is like the highest tax getter for Haryana and the second startup hub in India after Bangalore. I mean, you would expect much better. There's a 700 meter from here, there's a Choraha. I mean, I had to literally walk in knee-deep water from there because the cabs just wouldn't come. And the city was brought to a standstill. And this is that even at, the jam started at 7 p.m. It went through the night.
यहाँ तो बहुत दिक्कत है, जरा सा पानी बरसता है, रोड पे पानी पानी दिखता है, ना तो नाला है, ना कुछ है, बहुत परेशानी है, बहुत भारी दिक्कत है, पैदल मोटरसाइकिल वाले तो चल ही नहीं सकते हैं.
Well, that story playing out across different cities, that's the story there on the infrastructure deficit in Gurugram. But we'll, of course, keep you posted on what's happening elsewhere. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching the news. We'll continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. From all of us here, have a great weekend. And, of course, we'll be tracking all the developments globally and overnight here on CNBC-TV18.